So I made this post on Facebook the other day. See, I've got a daughter who's of age to be really interested in guys or boys, and they're pretty interested in her. And I've got three sons, and the first is of age to be ready to become a man. So I post this comment on Facebook. I've got this daughter and I've got this boy. So what comes up for me is like, okay, so how do I approach this? What do I say to my daughter? Um, More about what she should be looking for in a man. So really, my thinking wasn't about men and my daughter, but my thinking was about my boy and what should he be as he becomes a man. Hi, my name's Robin. I'm from theVisibleFeltDad, and I'm embarking on a journey which I want to call intentional fathering, or how to become a man. I ask myself this question: am I a man? Yeah, I'm male, sure. So in the human species, I am male. I've got body parts that tell me so, that remind me so. I've got physical strength. I've got a voice. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. But listen, in my life right now, I have a daughter and three sons, and we're at that time where it's becoming more and more real for me to consider, what is this? What is this idea of a man? And as my boy becomes mature, as he matures, is there something like a rite of passage from boyhood to manhood? And if there is this passage, is there a path? Is there a map? Is there a road that one must go when you leave the boy things, the childlike things behind, and you become a man? You like man up. And as I consider these things, or rather, let me be honest, as I consider how I process these things in preparation to share them with my son, my first of my boy childs, I'm also mindful of what would I say to my daughter? What should she be looking out for? That's a really helpful perspective to look at this project, at this concept from both sides. What do I say to my son? And how does that sound to my daughter? And then I'm made aware, I'm become very aware of, hey, what about me? Am I a man? Have I become a man? How do I know that I left the boyish things and I chose manhood? When I look around me, how do I know what manhood is? In society today, life as I know it, the world that you and I know, is vastly different from that world that my folks grew up, my parents, my mom and dad grew up in, what they understood, what my dad understands, what it looks like and sounds like and feels like to be a man is very different to what society today demands of me and of my children when it comes to what does it mean to be a man. So in this project, in the posts that follow the videos, and you can follow on the videos, you can follow on the website, visiblefeltdad.com, I want to unpack. I actually want to go on a journey. I want to create a resource where my son and the sons that follow and my daughter can look inside, peel away the curtain and make sense for themselves. What is it to be a man? And dude, if you're watching this and you haven't been on that journey yourself, I trust that you too will be able to make some sense of what it is to be a man. What is manhood? What does it look like, sound like? What have I put down? What did I pick up? What are the characteristics? What are the qualities? How do I make sense of the different beliefs and opinions and values that so many people hold close about this topic of what does it mean to be a man? What is male? What is female? What is masculine? What is feminine? How does this all fit together? Oh, and then what is boyfriend material? That was interesting. Considering if I understand what it is I'm going to teach my son to be a man, in my opinion, in alignment to my beliefs and my principles, my philosophy and my values, which might not be yours, and I'm okay with that. But when I've laid those out so that I can explain this in some way to my son, what will my daughter think? How will I teach her, in my opinion, what boyfriend material looks like? Because there's boys out there. And my daughter's a catch. Yes, I'm biased. As a father, I can say that, as you would too. But I don't want just any guy to catch my daughter. And then I catch myself in that moment. I'm coming back to that Facebook post where someone comments, yeah, what if your daughter isn't interested in boys? How do I deal with that? What if girls like girls and boys like boys, and that doesn't fit? That doesn't fit into the truth, the values, the principles, the philosophy that I was taught as a child. How have I grown with that? How will I deal? How will you deal with these new ways of thinking? Or perhaps these ways of thinking are yours and you need to make sense of a child, a boy child or a girl child who chooses a set of values that don't coincide, like they conflict against yours. How do you make sense of that? How do you make sense of when you have something, dude, that's valuable to you and you identify with it and therefore you identify in it, but your child doesn't connect with that? Does that challenge you and your manhood? Does that challenge for you what it means to be a man? Can you still be a dad? Can you still father, guide, love, care and concern, nurture, cultivate a child who has a very different set of beliefs and values and principles and chooses a different philosophy and perhaps a different spirituality? So many things have shown their interesting colors as I've dived into this concept of intentional fathering. And if you've connected with me in the past, you'll know that it's with that layer of how do I do this when I'm not physically there? So I'm the visible felt dad, not because I've got my stuff sorted out, but because I recognize that in the situation I find myself in, natural consequences included, I'm not physically present every day to have these conversations with my daughter and my son, but they still need to be had. So how will I make sense? And as I make sense of this, I trust it will help you begin to make sense of these conversations too. So stick around. There's a couple of videos coming. There's a whole bunch of topics that I've prepared, and every time I post them on Facebook, I get a fascinating response. Or when I have a conversation around the lunch table or on the Zoom call, I get surprised at what other people believe and feel and think, and how I'm drawn. I'm demanded to make room for other ways of thinking. Perhaps you are too. Perhaps you will be too. Pulled, not apart, but pulled into making room for your son and your daughter. And making room in your understanding and your feeling, your thinking and your feeling and your doing, so that you can be more visibly felt in the relationship with your child, no matter if you're physically there or not.